Hi, it's Nancy. Come with me on a garden scroll. Today is May the 5th and I finally got my little rootings out of the window, out of the glasses and into the garden. So now I have a job of cleaning these glasses, but I'll put those away and they'll be ready to go again this fall. Spring is such a busy time in the garden, and I have literally more to do than I know where to begin. And I'm trying to do a little movie for our granddaughter who is graduating this year because, well, just because, but then also because her sister wants us to, and she wants it to be special because this year of 2020, when everybody has had to forego really important things like graduations and even being with a loved one when they're dying, that's just too hard to even think about. But it's terrible. But anyway, we're trying to get that done, and it's going to be a surprise for her. Actually, it'll be over by the time I get this on. But today is the 7th of May. And I just wanted to show you some of the garden today because we're, if you can believe it, we are fixing to have 3 days in a row going down to in the 30s. It should not, or they're not predicting it to go down to 32. So most of the things will be fine, but I do have some things I want to cover because I brought out some new little things. That was one of the other things that I was afraid I wouldn't get done because my little things in the glasses were rotting. And I wanted to save some of them after saving them all winter long and changing the water every single week. So I just really wanted to save those. And then of course I did go ahead and go to the nurseries, and I've shown you before, but I got several plants. I did get some of those done. Oh, look at this little plant right here, and then look at me. I'm getting that whatever it is where, I guess, where your skin doesn't make the melanin that lets you tan, only it does it in splotches. So that's how this is how I look, like this little plant. I don't know exactly what happened to it, but it'll be fine because I'll just clip that off and it'll be its pretty little red color. And actually I might put that somewhere and just see what it will do. Because these do, as I've told you before, but they really do clone easily. And they're perfect for filling in a spot that something else you had there didn't make it for some reason. Because you can usually just put one of these in if the weather is not too hot. Of course, they'll wilt and die if you don't have a good day to do it. Which today would be a good day to do that because it actually missed some rain this morning. So it's a good day for that, but I'm not sure if it's a good day for taking pictures in the garden. But we're going to do it for the simple reason that because after our 3 days of really cold weather again, things like this, these are some of the things that I just got in here. This is a little sweet potato vine. This is that beautiful icicles licorice plant. This is I think it's called Alternanthera Purple Night. This is one of the little coleus, so pretty and bright, and yet It's newly in here, so this is already happening to it, this wilting down thing, and I'll lose some of that, but hopefully it will go ahead and live for me. But with this cold weather coming, it may not. I want it to, I hope it will, but you can see they're so fragile just to be put out here in the first place. They have to have a really nice day, which I was lucky enough to have a day where the wind didn't just take them out as soon as I put them in there. But now we're going to have the cold, and they've only been out here a day or two. Some of them have been out a day, and others have been out for 2 days, and then we're going to this. So this is that pretty little wandering Jew that was in the window. This is another one of the coleus, which has a pretty ruffled leaf to it. That'll be beautiful by the end of the season if it lives through the cold that we're fixing to have. Here's another one. I was wanting to show you how beautiful everything is because the peonies and the roses are blooming, and I looked out yesterday and I was thinking, oh my goodness, I need to get out there and get some pictures because they make such a beautiful backdrop. They're beautiful in themselves, and they make a beautiful backdrop for other plants, things you didn't even not just the plants but the decor, the things you didn't even notice before. When they have beautiful roses all around them, you're going to start noticing. So look, I have a little bud on my hydrangea. But I hope to go ahead and show you not only these little new things that I'm afraid I'm going to lose, which I hope I don't. I may be able to cover some of those. I may be able to take some inside. I won't do a lot of it. There's just not time. So we'll just see what happens, basically. But most of it is either perennial or stuff that's been out here long enough to get used to it, but there's just also so many new little things that I wish would have had at least a good week before this would happen, but they didn't, so we'll just have to go with what we've got again. And also, I might as well go ahead and say that I'm grateful for the cool weather. I know what it's like to be out here in 90-degree or 100-degree temperatures for weeks on end, and it's not fun. This little pot was always drowning out, so I put one of those little that you put under a downspout and kind of divert it away from the pot itself. And actually it's kind of pretty. I need to put some more of this little sedum over on the other side, or even maybe a taller plant on the other side. Some that can still go ahead and take excess water, because it will still get some, but it doesn't get so much. And then there's that beautiful little bird. I tell you, my brother did so many pretty things, but he did not do anything any more pretty than this bird. How he got all those colors in there is beyond me, but I love it every time I see it. So beautiful. I told you that I put a Crocandra in this little pot, and then I also went ahead and got some Bacopa, this pretty blue Bacopa, which is looking pretty pathetic right now too, but you can tell how pretty it's gonna be if it should live there. I had one there last year which did not make it very long through the season, and this one's already had a rough start and gonna have some more rough weather for it, but hopefully it'll make it through it. We'll see. This little rose is just now beginning to open up good, and my husband trims so many of my bushes. This is my snowball bush, and he trimmed it down for me, which I like because I like to be able to look over there and see my seed box, and especially once I get some flowers in there. And then also it will grow back, and I don't want it to just keep being overgrown more than the rest of the garden is. And then this little, I was afraid that irises wouldn't grow in a pot when I first put some in here, and then I had divided my yellow iris because they do have a tendency to be dominant and take over. But they're so beautiful, I just couldn't get rid of it. So I thought, well, I'll put it in that pot, and it did well in the pot. And this little red rose is blooming so pretty today too. Almost all the roses are looking really good. Some of them are beginning to lose their bloom, so that's another reason, even though I don't feel like I have time to do this in one way and another, I just feel like I can't not take the time to do it because these may not be here and I don't want you to miss this. So I did go ahead and come to the back, and this is right at our back gate. Isn't it beautiful? My friend gave me this little peony support, and it was just laying. Once the peonies start blooming, the flowers are so big, and then especially if they get wet at all, they're so heavy that they had just fallen down and flopped all over the place, and they don't look quite natural since we just put these up yesterday in this little cage thing. But they're still so beautiful. Look at this. This is a Sarah Bernhardt peony. So pretty. And over on the other side, we have these pretty little pink ones, and I don't know the names of all my peonies. I do have them written down somewhere. I don't even know where that little booklet is right now, though, but I do have it. So if it ever becomes really important, I can go back and search through them and find out the names of them. But yes, the roses are blooming. The peonies are blooming, and there's just so much beauty that it's hard to even know which way to look first. So pretty. And then over on this fence I have roses growing, which I have shown you these before, but I don't think they've been quite as lush. And this pretty little setting, it won't last much longer because the bloom are already beginning to fade, but at the same time they're just in their most lush beauty. I put a picture of this on my Instagram page, and it wasn't even hardly noticed. I think I got one like on it, but then I went and went up close and put a picture of a close-up of them on there, and it got the likes. So you just have to really get close enough to see how beautiful it is, but also when you get back and see the whole little grouping, to me that's pretty awesome too. The Sweet William also I didn't say, but it's blooming. I love the Sweet William, and also the butterflies love it. I had some come yesterday. I think I may have got some clips yesterday that I'll put on with these of the butterfly on some of the Sweet William. I read one time, probably in a Birds in Bloom magazine, that the clematis or clematis do well with the roses to plant them together, and so I've been trying that, and no surprise, but they were right. And I'm sure I've shown you some of these before, but like I said, I don't think the roses were as lush because they're just so in full bloom right now, even though some of them are definitely beginning to wane a bit. So that's why I was afraid they may not be here after our 3 cold days. So we'll see what happens, but we'll still have this. And I'll take you over a little closer to these in a bit, but I have the pretty coral roses blooming, and then the old-fashioned red roses are blooming, and the Sweet William and the peonies. These are small because a couple or so years ago I took several off and gave to a friend, dug it up and divided it, so they haven't got big again, but they will. This one's a little bit bigger. This is my favorite peony. I love them all, don't get me wrong, because they're all so beautiful. They have their own beauty, but I don't know. This was my first peony, and I just don't think it can be beat. And as we just come on up this fence row, there's more roses here. These are I would probably call them red, although to me they are more of a bright pink. And I was thinking about transplanting all this, and now I'm thinking about just maybe leaving it right there. That's pretty around her, this little girl, but I haven't really made up my mind on that yet. And then there's more peonies blooming. This one is kind of like the Bowl of Beauty in that it has petals around a little fluffy petal, and this is beautiful too. It's so pretty. The Bowl of Beauty is my favorite, but you can tell that I love this because for some reason I picked it out 3 different times. I forgot what colors they were before they bloomed, and I ended up getting 3 of them. See if I can show you a little bit. Like this, of course, this is another one right down here. And then I'll show you the other one when we get over to it, but they're all the same kind of peony. And I like having different kinds, even though I know they say it's best to have 3 or 5 of a plant so that you get that effect. And it's true, I've noticed it in my own garden that it kind of looks scraggly until you have enough of them that makes it look lush, of the same color or the same type of plant. So as we go on around, we cannot miss this one. Look at this beautiful peony. Some kind of bug on it there. Get off of there. Well, I didn't get him off. Oh, look, almost got a yellow jacket. I don't really want those on my hands. But isn't this beautiful? They don't really scare me, though. They really very rarely bother me. I have been stung by yellow jacket since I've been gardening about 3 times. But they just don't bother you unless you're near their den or their home, and then I'm sorry, but they're going to get you. They're going to take up for them little ones. Isn't this a beautiful color peony? And I still don't have my pots filled out. I just have not had time, but I'm hoping to, and I'm still hoping to do a lot of them in perennials so that they'll be ready to go in the spring and I won't have to refill every pot. But again, I do definitely want some pots that I just refill from the nursery items, because that's part of the fun of gardening to me, is to go and see all the new items and get new annuals started to go along with the perennials. Look at this little charming Siberian iris. Let me see if I can get that out of the way so you can see it better. I put this on here once before, but it kind of was blurry. So I hope this one is sharp where you can see the beauty of it. And then, of course, these, they're fading now, but another one is fixing to open that these are not hard to see the beauty in at all because they're so bright and pretty. Another little pot I need to fill, and don't know if I'm going to do it with annuals or perennials, but I'll get that figured out. It's going to actually be nice to have another little break, and I'll be busy on other things anyway, but once I get the other things done, you know, that's another thing I was going to talk about just a little bit, about how you think, well, don't push yourself so hard, because I've done it and then just screwed things up, but sometimes we have to, because there's only a certain length of time. Like if I didn't get this for you today, these peonies may not be here after the after the cold comes, because for one thing, if it comes with wind, which usually everything comes with wind here in Oklahoma, but if it does, it'll blow these away. I've had several of my peonies just to be blown away before I could even really get very many or any pictures of them. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but that's just my point of sometimes you have to do it when you don't feel like doing it, or you don't get it done, and sometimes even doing it then you don't get everything done you want to do. We just can't really make time. We just prioritize as much as we can and do the best we can, and be excited when it turns out and then disappointed when it doesn't. But thank the Lord, He's always with us. This little one has already lost 2 of its bloom, and this one will be the last one. It probably won't be here when after the 3 days of cold. And I see I do have a few of those little the little roses like I have in the front, or a few of them are back here around this little heart trellis. More pots I need to fill up. And then I wanted to show you that I'm going to look at this pretty iris first. And then this is what I wanted to show you. This is called a ghost honeysuckle, and it's in bloom right now. Which this is pretty even when it's not blooming. Just because of this little, I guess you call it a bract, this little green round circle that comes out on it. And they're not, even though they're a honeysuckle, they're not invasive. Sometimes I trim it down a bit so I can see my little house in there. But other than that, I don't have to do anything with it but just enjoy it. My vinca vine is going away, which is a good thing. I'm ready to get rid of it. Even though it is beautiful, don't let that dissuade you from getting some. If you want some, just know that it will go out of bounds and go everywhere. So you have to constantly take care of that situation. But this is the rose I wanted to show you. This is called actually it's called a Cinco de Mayo rose. Columbine. This is a pretty little orange coral rose, and behind it there is the pretty kind of purple red violet rose. And that's what I was talking about, how it makes other things look so pretty, because this was just bare. It does have a coleus planted at the base, but it hasn't gotten big enough to do anything. But with this coming up, it just adds to the beauty of the structures you have in the garden. So I went around to the other side. I wanted you to see how even just a little bit of color right there in the middle of it can make it look so much better. My little bell clematis is blooming. These are some more little ones that I put out here. Well, actually, this is a new one that I bought from the nurseries. I love this color. And then these little ones, which green, this pretty yellow green, like the sweet potato vine color. They are gorgeous in the garden. Now this one, you can tell the wind has already just about destroyed it. They're just so tender when they first come out of the well, they're just sitting in a glass in the window, and they're very tender and very susceptible to everything. So whether any of these will live, I don't know. I do hope to cover this one and give it a fighting chance. And then this one is beginning to bloom, the rose on here. And I have both a pink rose, and this is a knockout rose, and it is red. It won't be long till this will be just covered in bloom. And then back there you can see that pretty white peony that I love it too. I just didn't think I would love a white as much as I do, but it's so pretty. I don't know if you can see from here, behind it is that pretty Baptisia false indigo in white. This rose is blooming. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go around so you can go ahead and see the old rose bloom, and then the pretty coral roses. And this one we did go ahead and trim off some that had fallen down and gave it a better shape. Plus there was one that was trying to go back to the old roses, so we cut it down and actually sprayed that cane with some some root killer, and hopefully it will kill that root without killing the rest of the pretty tree or bush. But it's always worth it to me, because I don't want them to all be this kind of roses and they all try to go back to that if they're grafted onto another root. Usually this is the one they're grafted onto, because this little rose has been here for ever so many years before I moved here. So, and not to say that it's not beautiful, and it smells beautiful too. I just want more than one color rose in my garden. And I might say that I think I told you once I was going to spray the weeds that kill the weeds, not the grass, but I think I maybe got my little formula wrong, because as you can tell, I killed some of our grass, but I don't really think it's dead. I think it will come back once we get our rain and some sunshine. I think it'll come back. I'm hoping it will. This little rose is blooming more so. I put this on the last post, I believe, that it's got more bloom in it now. I would say maybe it'll have even more in a few days, but now that we're having forecast of some really cold weather for 3 days, it may not at all. And oh, here we are back to the other. I was telling you I had 3 of these, and this is where my third one is. So I decided to get it from this side also. Isn't that pretty? Oh, look, my Princess Diana rose is fixing to bloom also. And it usually does not mind the cold weather if it doesn't go below, 32, and it's not supposed to. So hopefully it'll be fine. It may even bloom during that time. This looks like one of my roses that went back to the old rose bloom, which is still pretty. I'll probably leave it there at least until I decide to get another one there. And then this little pot, I was trying to figure out what I was going to put in it besides the scabiosa or pincushion flower. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I hope it's in focus there for you. But I decided, well, I'm just going to go ahead and divide that little plant and put it all around there so that it won't have these bare spots in the front, and it'll come back every year. Now the perennials, of course, you have to divide them and give them a chance to have room to grow and to do well. So I'll try to do that. That may end up being as much of a problem as replanting everything in the spring. I don't know, but I know that's pretty, and I'm going to try that, just putting it all through there. And these little bloom actually last a good long time. They don't do like most perennials, which come and last a week and then are gone, or even if they last a week. But these last quite a while in the garden, and so pretty. And I have more of them just right here beside them, and these are in the ground and they do well there. This probably may need dividing too, but I just really haven't got around to doing a bunch of that yet. So But we have had a wonderful season for doing it, as far as it not just getting hot all of a sudden and killing everything with the heat, even though we had some things that were killed because of the cold. I hope you were enjoying the roses and the peonies together. They just fill out the garden and make it so much more beautiful and lush and just wonderful. Of course, they usually just have one flush of bloom on the roses and then sporadically the rest of the time. And the peonies don't last very long at all, but oh my, they're so worth it. And this little pot, I did a little bit of. Actually, I may leave it like it is, or I may put something else in there. But I found this pretty little coral salvia. I love this color anyway. And then with the blue, I think it looks good. So, and then I decided I'll just put that little coral dianthus. And this has been coming back for me. Actually, I didn't purchase this one. I just dug it up from where I had it because I thought it would go in this pot even better. And I'll get another dianthus to put in the other pot. But I think this eventually will fill it out and just look really good. And then here's that pretty Baptisia false indigo that I was telling you about. It won't last much longer either, but it's so pretty. I love it. You can tell that the bloom has already faded out of some of it, but some of it's still got enough of those pretty little white bud-like blooms to still be showing off for us. And then this little rose is a pretty salmon pink. Love this color. You can tell some of the roses are spent, but there's still so much on it that's beautiful. I just didn't want you to miss this before they're all gone. And then of course more pots waiting my attention that I really don't know when I'll get to these, so I'm just going to go right on past them. But one day I will. This actually has some verbascum coming volunteer in it. I must have put a seed or something, or a bird put a seed in there for me, but this could actually be pretty there. More peonies. And it's trying to rain. It's starting to mist. This is another bush my husband trimmed off for me. It looks so much better. It was like way over half of the gate, but now it's back away from the gate. It's still tall and beautiful. Its bloom is about gone, but it may bloom again in the fall. I'm going to have to go in. It's beginning to rain enough that I don't want my camera to get too wet. Let me get just a few of these clematis. This is the one that I was telling you that is so bright and dark. This is another favorite for me. And then right over here is the pretty blue. Or purple. I call them blue. And beside it there, my mock cherry is blooming. We'll trim this back after it blooms. You should always, I've read and I'm sure it's true, that you should always trim your plants that bloom right after they bloom, because then they start setting seed for next year's bloom and you don't want to cut your bloom off. Another pot waiting for me to fill it out. Which I'm sounding like it's a chore, which it is, but it's a wonderful chore too, because I just imagine how beautiful it's going to be. Right now it's just bare, but this can make such a pretty pot of arrangement in the pot anyway. And then sometimes some of my mums try to bloom in the spring. This is a pretty quilled mum. See if I can get closer without blurring it out. This is some of that verbascum that's growing up in that one pot that I was telling you that a little bird may have planted the seed there for me. But I think it's a very pretty plant. I cannot get delphinium to grow, and these do grow for me, so they kind of take the place of a delphinium for a tall stalk. I know delphinium get gigantically tall in some areas. I've never had one to get more than probably 3.5 foot tall, and it never has come back. It came back for me but one time, and it didn't do well even when it did come back. So, but I may keep trying on them too. I just love delphinium, and I love this pretty little verbascum. Let me get a little bit closer so you can see that pretty little bloom. This is the white peony that I was telling you earlier that I loved. I'm so actually surprised at how much I loved it. I like a ball type flower, and this is almost a ball. It's just so pretty, and I love color so much. It just surprises myself every time I come out here and look at this and just realize how much I love it. That just a pretty white, you can't hardly beat that either. Also, I might say, I think I told you that we lost the pressure. I had a bad day, and it was our anniversary, but anyway, we lost the pressure in our water, and I needed to water something fierce. And anyways, we called someone to come out, and they actually called back. He came out this morning. He changed a switch on it for us and said, well, I'm not going to charge you for that. It was just a little switch. So, I mean, you cannot beat that. So, that was such a blessing. Here's the back side of that knockout rose. It's beginning its bloom, and I don't think the cold will take it out. It may surprise me and do more damage than I think it will, but because it is a perennial plant, I really think it'll still be beautiful when we come back out and take pictures again after the cold spell is over. Thought I might get the amaryllis one more time too, because they are so pretty. They're going away too. You can tell some of them are. So we're back to the pretty Sarah Bernhardt peonies. One more rose. One more rose is for me. I may have shown you this when it was smaller, but isn't that pretty? And it's called Ketchup and Mustard. Oh, and I was going to tell you, this is my pink Welgula, which is going away too. but it was really pretty. And then my other one, what I was going to tell you is that I did trim this off way severely, but I left the red, and I'm hoping it will go ahead and live. If it doesn't, I'll probably just get rid of it and get one that will be red, because what I realized was that at the bottom of this root, it's kind of got two plants, and I think after we had that really bad storms that caused the electricity to go out and iced everything over, and it topped our trees out, this one did not bloom for years, actually, for about 3 years. And then when it did, this little part right here, I'm going to go down the stalk so you can see that, or the trunk. See how it's got this little original stalk, and then what came out the side of it there is actually the stalk that had all that pale yellow or white, pink, creamy, I mean not pink, but creamy color that I want it to be red. That was the original thing that I purchased, was red, and I just want it to be red. So hopefully that will help it. If it doesn't, I'll probably, like I said, just go ahead and take that out and try again. Actually, it stopped misting, so I could stay out for a while, but I have so much to do, and I must go ahead and get in there and get busy with some of my other chores. That I appreciate you going on the garden scrolls with me. I hope you're enjoying them. I enjoy showing them to you. I just enjoy coming out and looking at them myself. And then I love it that I have this little documentation so that when they're gone, I can look back and see how beautiful they were when they were in bloom. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel.